Tensions between the United States and Venezuela, as I mentioned, continue to rise over the deployment of American warships and fighter jets in the southern Caribbean. And last week, the U.S. launched airstrikes on several vessels in the area, killing over a dozen alleged drug traffickers. Venezuela's President Nicolás Maduro has denied his government is involved in drug trafficking and has called for the mobilization of civilians to defend the country from what he calls U.S. aggression.
Today, rising tensions in the southern Caribbean as a showdown between the United States and Venezuela intensifies. Airstrikes, warships, mass mobilization, and a parade of armored vehicles in Caracas, all signs of a crisis that could ripple across the region. Tensions between the United States and Venezuela have climbed sharply in recent weeks. U.S. warships and fighter jets have been operating in the southern Caribbean, and U.S. forces recently launched airstrikes on several vessels in the area. Strikes officials say killed more than a dozen alleged drug traffickers. Caracas has rejected those claims and accused Washington of aggression. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro has emphatically denied any involvement by his government in drug trafficking. Instead, he has portrayed the U.S. presence as an act of hostility and urged broad civilian mobilization to defend Venezuelan sovereignty. In response to the U.S. strikes, Venezuelan military and government authorities staged a highly visible public demonstration in the capital. Dozens of armored vehicles rolled through the streets of Caracas in a government-organized display. Civilians were invited to the parade and, in some cases, given the opportunity to handle rifles and anti-aircraft weapons. Officials framed the event as a people's encounter, a show of unity and preparedness designed to send a message both inside and outside Venezuela's borders. Supporters at the event voiced a mixture of fear and defiance. There isn't a fisherman from any Caribbean island who goes out to fish and doesn't feel that a death sentence has been imposed without trial by imperialists, one official declared. Others spoke openly about taking up arms to defend the homeland, language that underscores the depth of anxiety and nationalist sentiment in parts of the population. Government response and mobilization. President Maduro has called for a major expansion of the national militia and described the situation as a potential attempt to destabilize or even remove his government. Recruitment drives and training sessions for civilians have increased since U.S. vessels were observed near Venezuelan waters roughly a month ago, moves Maduro portrays as necessary for national defense. Yet analysts warn the public displays may mask a more complicated reality. While Venezuela's government is mobilizing domestic support, most military experts say Venezuela remains significantly outmatched by the United States in terms of naval and air power. The displays emphasize political theater and popular mobilization, but they do not alter the underlying balance of military capabilities. Risks and regional implications. The risk is twofold: escalation by miscalculation, and a humanitarian or security fallout that could affect neighboring Caribbean and South American states. Even targeted strikes against suspected smugglers can inflame nationalist sentiment and lead to broader diplomatic confrontation.
No es una tensión, es una agresión en toda la línea. Es una agresión judicial cuando nos criminalizan. Es una agresión política con sus declaraciones amenazantes diarias. Es una agresión diplomática y es una agresión en camino de carácter militar. Y Venezuela está facultada por las leyes internacionales para hacerle frente integralmente a esta agresión.
Regional governments are watching closely, aware that any escalation would have consequences for trade, migration, and security across the hemisphere. As both sides signal resolve, the situation remains volatile. Public displays in Caracas feed nationalist resolve, while U.S. operations aim to interrupt criminal networks and assert maritime security. How this standoff evolves will depend on diplomatic channels, decisions taken by military commanders, and whether either side seeks de-escalation. If you want updates and expert analysis as this story develops, subscribe and turn on notifications and let us know in the comments which angle you want covered next. The military balance, regional diplomacy, or implications for civilians.